Hello, I'm Bill LeMay, and thank you for watching Community Matters. We hope you'll continue to watch as we discuss issues facing our community and provide you with the resources and information needed to find solutions. Many of us have struggled with getting a handle on our money habits, be it overspending or incurring debt through student loans or credit cards. Handling the stress and anxiety can be overwhelming. But there is help today. We're speaking with someone who's been there and can offer assistance. So please welcome to the show, Jillian Knight, financial therapist with Her Financial Therapy, specializing in helping women and couples improve their relationship with money. Jillian, thank you for being here. Good morning.
Thanks for having me.
Well, maybe we should start with what you don't do, because when I hear financial therapist or counselor, I'm going, get my pen out for stock tips. That's not what you do.
Correct. Yes. So whereas a financial planner or a financial investor is going to give you financial advice on more of maybe a comprehensive plan of what to do with your money or where to invest it, financial therapy is much more about the underlying emotional and psychological issues that many of us have with money that can get in the way of us applying any of that sort of financial education that you might read in like a personal finance book or take a class on.
Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, because you have a history that kind of brought you to where you are today.
Yeah, so I grew up in Florida, lower middle class maybe, and I came up here to go to NC State. So I went out of state for college and took on all the student loans that they would give me to do that. And then I went to grad school and took on all the student loans they would give me to do that. I didn't grow up with much understanding of what that was going to mean or how to save, how to budget, any of those basics. And sort of down the road, my husband and I, he's from Wake Forest, he had gone to law school and took on all the student loans. So combined, we had not really been paying attention to it very much. And when we got married, we had $364,000 in student loan debt.
That's a lot of money. Can I ask you, and I don't mean to interrupt your story, but...
No, that's fine.
Okay, you meet your husband, you fall in love, you get married. Did you know going in, and did he know going in, that you guys had such debt you were carrying into the relationship?
So I think we both had an idea because we got together in college.
Sure.
And I don't think that because neither one of us had much of like a financial, an understanding of like when you sign on for student loans that like you're going to have to pay it back. But you don't quite grasp all the details, especially when you're like 17, 18, and you just take out the money because you want to go to the school you want to go to.
Right.
And then down the line, when you're, you've been paying minimums and maybe you don't even really understand how any of this works. And then you start to learn more about personal finance like we started to do. We knew there were loans there. We knew that like neither one of us was like fantastic at managing money. But to see that number, I think was quite a shock to both of us combined. Luckily we were, luckily it was about even between us. So it wasn't like one of us was bringing in significantly more, but it was still just it was very depressing seeing that number.
Was it stressful as well? I mean, were there issues in that? I don't want to say issues with your marriage, but it can create issues between people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, a lot of times it can. Money is a very stressful topic that we don't talk about because it's like the biggest taboo, right? Like we can talk about other things, but money is not something you're supposed to talk about. So we hadn't really talked about money before we got married. It was stressful. It felt hopeless. We were not making enough to keep up with interest. In our case, which is not always the case, we got on a plan to pay it off. We're not paid off, but we got on a plan to start paying it down significantly. But so that sort of brought us together on it. It didn't end up being the best plan for us long term. But it wasn't something that, like the stress of the student loans sort of manifested in other ways.
Well, yeah, I mean, and I agree. You know, you get your student loan, you don't really think about paying it back until you have to when you're young. Why do you suppose? See, when I was in school before cars were made, they actually would take time and they would do at least the basics with the kids, you know, how to balance a checkbook, credit cards, compound interest, how to save, pretty basic stuff. And I get a sense that maybe you didn't get that, or it's not available today, that people are kind of floundering out there, not knowing what to do?
Yeah, so I think it really depends. I did not have anything in high school. I think I took one class in college. But when you, there are a lot of things that may make it so that you're not really taking in that information, and you don't see it as applicable yet because you're not out in the world, you know, with a job, with the bills, with like the whole responsibility yet. And then I also think, you know, there are efforts being made to get more personal finance in high schools in like a very structured way, so that at least that education is available. But what I do focuses on what gets in the way of people being able to apply that information, because there's a difference between knowing what to do and being able to do it in a lot of cases.
Well, that's interesting. And we're going to get to that in the next segment, because I never stopped to think about that. I've always been stressed over money because just coming from lower income as well and all of that. But I also know that it plays a big role with couples in a huge way. Now, you specialize in women, but you'll do couples as well.
Correct.
Is there is it just because you're a woman that you feel you have a perspective that you would specialize in it?
Partially. I think a lot of it's been my experience as a woman, and seeing the ways in which maybe, women are can be much at a disadvantage, especially when it comes to, there are a lot of different things that have impacted women's financial health that are different than men. And so I feel pretty strongly about helping women navigate those things.
Well, that's awesome. When we come back, and we're going to talk about all that. So stay where you are, because this is valuable information. We'll be back with Jillian in a moment.